How the Supreme Court is hearing a case tied to President Trump's plan to end birthright citizenship.
The justices will hear arguments about his request to restrict the orders by lower court judges that stopped it from taking effect. Joining us now is constitutional law expert Robert McWhirter. Thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Good morning.
Can you dive right in for us? There's a thing called the 14th Amendment, and tell us what it says about birthright citizenship and why is that language now under so much scrutiny?
Well, the 14th Amendment says that all persons born or naturalized in the United States are citizens of the United States or the state wherein they reside. That is pretty simple language. Everybody born here is a citizen of the United States, and that's always been the law in the United States, even at the founding. There was a little glitch in a case called Dred Scott, which said that black people, both slaves and non-slaves, were not citizens. And so the Congress corrected that with a new amendment, the 14th Amendment in 1868. And if you're born here, you're a citizen. End of story.
All right. Well, you say end of story. President Trump says not so much. You said it was simple. He's made it very complicated. He argues, yes, that the 14th Amendment is tied to slavery and not immigration. That's part of his argument. But this case really is talking about the power of the judges to issue nationwide rulings, not exactly the birthright citizenship. So talk about that.
Yeah. I don't think the justices are going to spend a lot of time on the birthright citizenship issue. That's pretty much settled law. They're going to be talking a lot today about the power of nationwide injunctions and whether a district court can impose an injunction on a policy of the president or the Congress, for that matter, that affects the entire nation. Now, you got to be clear about nationwide injunctions. Both Democratic and Republican presidents complain about these nationwide injunctions. During the Biden administration, people were running down to a judge in South Texas getting injunctions on all his policies. So this is nothing new for the executive to complain about it, but to have this attack on it and then attacking the judges is inappropriate. So that's the game really going on in the Supreme Court right now.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch. So if the court does side with the government, I'm just wondering what happens to the children born in the U.S. who now, their parents are from other places. Maybe they're undocumented. Maybe the parents are here temporarily. Where do they call home?
Oh, they could be stateless people. And by the way, do you make this retroactively? And if so, how far back do you go? Do you go back all the way? Do you have to have an ancestor in 1791 when the Constitution was passed? It gets really kind of crazy. And you could have these children with no country of their own if that's what happens. So the implementation is just really impossible.
Absolutely. And speaking of that, how could this affect future legal challenges if something like this is allowed to go forward?
Well, if you're talking about the nationwide injunctions, if the court limits the power of judges to do that, or if Congress limits that power, which Congress could do, you could have a real mess. So let's say there's a policy and all of a sudden one judge here does one thing and then plaintiffs all over the country have to do the same thing on the same issue. It just creates a whole bunch of messy cases. It's much better to have one judge take it up or two or three, and then they go up the appellate process. And by the way, on injunctions, an administration can always appeal those immediately to the Circuit Court of Appeals and then to the Supreme Court. So it's not like an administration is without recourse when there's a nationwide injunction. It's only to protect the harm from continuing to hurt the country while the legal issues are being decided.
Well, I know you're going to have fun watching today, and we'll probably check in with you again. Thanks so much for being with us.
My pleasure.